All right. All right. All right. I think we are going live on YouTube right now. Let me make sure there is no echo. Hey everyone, it's been a while, and that is because I've been so busy promoting my film, A Tear in the Sky. For those who have not watched it, you have to watch this film. We discovered a wormhole. How crazy is that? So anyway, I hope everybody is joining this conversation today and has watched the film and shared it and written a review and all this good stuff. Okay, enough. Today, I have my beautiful friend, French friend, Aurélien Milot. What a beautiful name. And I love to bring my French friends because it's a different perspective. I feel the Europeans have a different perspective on things. And so, for those who don't know him, I'm going to do a very quick introduction. Um, for those who are sensitive, you can already feel and see his energy. So Aurélien, I wonder how you say that. Aurélien, how do you say that in English? How do you pronounce your name in English?
Nobody can pronounce. That's why normally I have a nickname, and it's a horrible name, very difficult to pronounce. It's so French, so typical French. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But most of people call me Issa. That's why, yeah,
Isa.
it's
Okay.
easier. Yeah.
That's easy enough. Okay. So Aurélien is an incredible human being because he does all this spiritual work. Totally, he just gives it all free of charge. You know, he's written like 17 books. It's all on his website. All his information is going to be down in the description for sure. He also manages an orphanage in Bali, which is amazing. And also, he organizes retreats in Bali. And but what's very unique about him, I'm going to let him get into this because that's part of the topic of what we're going to talk about today, is that he is also the head of the fashion. He does this amazing business in the fashion industry. So you think, the fashion, this very material, physical kind of expression and work, and combined with this very beautiful spiritual work. And I would love to have him tell us his story, especially how he can juggle and manage both and be in both worlds in perfect alignment. And so, Aurélien, my dear friend, welcome.
Hello, Caroline. Thank you for receiving me. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be there. Thank you for your introduction.
Yeah, so tell us, I love stories. I love to hear because people get inspired, by other people's stories. So how did you start, and especially how are you able to manage the fashion world, which is very physical, very material, and then get into the spiritual work that you're doing? Tell us your story.
Yeah, actually, to make it short, the thing is, I was born spiritual. Okay, naturally, I didn't do anything for that since I'm conscious and aware, since I'm maybe 2 years old, what I remember. And I really wanted to discover the world. I was coming from the north of France, and I had a chance to visit the 66 country. I wanted to discover new culture, new religion, spirituality, angles of views, and so on. So I choose business initially. So I'm graduated for MBA, business, also professor for MBA students and so on for big schools in the world. And also I try to make the link, okay, between let's say the materialistic world, for which yes, indeed, I'm in very shallow, in a certain extent, fashion industry and so on, but also because I wanted to go into the system, the production, the organization, the supply chain, and so on. Business is actually the dynamic of the world, of the civilization, and so on. And it allowed me to travel, to live abroad half of my life, 10 years in China, in Indonesia, in different countries in the world. It's really, let's say, enriching, because it allows you also to discover people, points of view, and so on and so forth. And I made the joint and let's say the bridge with also business schools, for which I studied to do education for more than 10 years now. And also I established a link with spirituality. For example, so I teach finance, I teach entrepreneurship, supply chain, all this kind of really business oriented. And in parallel of that, also meaning of life, meditation, spirituality, more and more, meaning thereby, when I studied 20 years ago in my business school in France, it was really, close-minded. I was doing a meditation. I was perceived as a bit, let's say, alien in a certain extent. And now more and more, there is a consciousness and an openness. And why is so important as well? Because I try to convey, to transmit also some messages. Because the fact to discuss about spirituality with spiritual people is not, in quote, new marketeers. Okay, so they are the ambassadors of tomorrow. And I definitely believe in the reconnection in between, let's say, heart and the sky as well. And we are here as a bridge, as a link, because the reality, even the symbol of the cross is also the horizontality and the verticality. That's to say, the materiality, enjoying life, food, friends, nature, and so on. And also, we can do parties and also honoring. For me, I try my best to magnify and to honor life and the living God universe through different perspectives. I find God through everything and everybody, even sometimes in entertainment. So that the bridge. And also, yes, we have a holistic wellbeing center in Bali where we live normally, even if currently we are a little bit blocked in Turkey for 1 year now, but we are supposed to live in Bali, for which we also manage an orphanage on which we are building a kind of new program for kids, like with nutrition, self-development, creativity, and so on. Why is so important for me education? Because if we want a new paradigm, it's really the new foundation. And that's why also I try to cope with different topics and so on. I'm passionate for everything. Science, my education is from science. My father is a great doctor, a professor in artificial intelligence and so on. And I try to combine both. Because for me, even I spent a lot of years of studying, for example, the similarities between science and spiritualities. Because for me, they stand for complementarities and absolutely no opposition. And for me, this is the methodology I apply and I try to embody, is what I baptize holy style of life. It's a holistic approach, holistic practice. And I'm convinced and I feel definitely that this new paradigm that we're going to talk maybe today, this transition is nowadays, is by now, is not in the is not far away. And this is up to us individually to be the change that you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said. And we are invited to magnify the divinity and to enlarge our perspective, enlarge our consciousness, and also to do some cross with disciplines, science and spirituality, even the medicines, the different techniques and so on. And not as a mix-up, but just because we can, the richness for me is the word heritage. And this is what I felt and why I discovered through the words, through people and so on. And I'm completely convinced that we're going to do amazing things by, crossing, having to enlarge our let's say, pluridimensional perspective, individually, artistic,
Yeah.
scientists, and so on. We are so much. That's why.
I think the biggest problem that people have, those who are on a spiritual path, is that they have a hard time managing their material life. So there is a
That's true.
belief system that if you do spiritual work, first of all, it has to be free.
Mm.
And you also are supposed to be accessing things for free. So there's this whole strange belief system that spiritual work and the physical, you know, what you were saying in your case, the fashion industry, just don't match. You know, it's either
Mm.
you're in this world or in that world. So that's why I really love your story, because you are comfortable in both. And
Yep.
so, and those who are comfortable in the material world, um, you know, have a hard time thinking, oh, I need to be meditating every day, or I need. So I think this is a problem, because at the core of our success is this ability to be both. Because yes, we're spiritual, but we have a physical body, and we have to live under a roof, and we have to deal with all this physical stuff. And so I think it may be a good idea to share some of these tools, you know, especially with all the challenges that we're having right now. I mean, look at this world. It's more and more separated. It's harder more and more to, you know, to convince people of this thing versus that thing. It's a very strange time. And so, for those who are on a spiritual path and trying to make sense of their physical reality, or become successful financially or materially, just so that they can live well, what is the first advice that you would give them? How would they start to feel comfortable in both worlds, and be aligned in that way?
But actually, I definitely think the first thing, the most important thing is everything is energy. It's not, I don't learn you anything new. Einstein said there is no matter. What we call matter is only energy for which has been reduced to be perceptible with our senses. So everything is energy. So as long as your mindset is very positive, you in this law of attraction and so on, you are vibrating. So this is the very, very first thing. I definitely think that reconnection is one of the key words. Reconnection means a lot of things, but actually it's the tradition of the word. It means originally, etymologically speaking, religare, religion, means to reconnect to three things: the yourself, know thyself and you will know the secret of God and the universe. This is the Greek mythology and the philosophy, let's say. To mankind in general, regardless the origin and so on, as an enrichment. And secondly, to reconnect to nature, because we completely lost our connection with Gaia, Mother Earth, whatever the name. And we're, it's sometimes I say it's like doing yoga with an armor of the Middle Age. We are off-grounded from our nature, the cycles, the energy of the seasonality, and so on and so forth. And this is not artificial. This is very crucial things. These are tiny things, but these are the basics and essential. And the last one is in this triptych is the reconnection to invisible world, because invisible world means many things, means God, universe, means the force, the chi, the ki, the prana, all this terminology, whatever, angels, et, and so on. Why? Because by being more reconnected, we don't feel alone. We don't, Elif Shafak, a great philosopher, she's Turkish, she says, no matter who you are, where we live, deep inside, we all feel incomplete. It's like if we had lost something and experiencing the need to find it back. So what did we lose? This connection to the unity, Y-O-U, You understand the unity within people. And we have been fragmented, separated since in Quatermain, the legend or of the Genesis. The etymology of existing, to exist, means to separate. So how you, if you are the great old God or universe, how you can see yourself, if you're the painter, if you are the painting, if you're the characters, you cannot. You need to step forward, right? So you need to separate, to take a certain distance. So by coming on this density, we have been obliged to separate from you, from here to there, and so on. But the goal of this incredible adventure is to find back this unity that we had initially. And why we're suffering so much, why we are so in the illusion of connection, to have many contacts and so on. This is virtual, but the real deep connection, is our natural Wi-Fi, our natural connection to Akashic records, to the let's say the unconscious, the collective unconscious, and so on. All these dimensions, invisible, but we are belonging to something higher that our higher self feels and feel incomplete, not to have finding back.
Yeah, so of course, I totally agree. The reconnection with who you are.
Yeah,
Because what to me seems to be the problem is there is a, speaking of separation, it seems to be a separation between mind and heart.
yeah,
So your heart, when you're trying to reconnect with who you are, with when you say the invisible worlds, or to me, source, the origin of all of existence, the essence, your original essence. When you start to connect to that, you start to feel things and be one with yourself. You start to feel what you are, who you are, first of all, but also what you are here to do. And
yeah,
so let's say I start to, I'm in my meditation trying to reconnect with nature, with the universe, and who I am. I feel that in my heart. And then when I ask, what is my calling to manifest a career, a physical job or physical something, that heart energy gravitates towards, for example, work with nature or work with writing or work with children or something like that, right? And then my heart opens and feels amazing. But what happens, this is a typical thing that people do, the head kicks in. Wait a minute, how am I going to make money at
yeah.
writing books? I'm nobody. I'm not an author. How am I going to, teach healing, whatever, energy healing in today's society? How this and that? It's so unrealistic. I have to pay bills. I have to, all these responsibility. And that connection is severed right there. And speaking
Yeah.
of vibration, because originally the first thing you said is the positive vibration. Everything is energy and vibration. So that's, I feel this is where people lose that connection and the ability to create something that's material, but that's aligned with their true original self. So, what is an advice from your experience? I'm sure you encounter many people who have this problem. They say, but I want to do this. I feel this, but I can't. It's impossible. It's unrealistic, so on and so forth.
Actually, this is the old principle of law of attraction and abundance. As long it's a question of, let's say, self programmation, resettings, inner resettings, because you can say something, and if deep inside your unconscious part don't believe, it's like having a tattoo. You can clean up with all the soaps you want, it will never go out except with laser. So it's it's a very deep work. And you know, the principle of law of attraction and the notion of co-realization and so on, it's with three aspects basic. The first one is to visualize, okay, with your mind, your intellectual part. The second one is to feel deeply with your heart, but not let's say by thinking about something deeply within yourself. And the third one, the key, I mean, the cherry on the cake, is to be already grateful for being there. Let's say like, yeah, thank you so much, and so on. And you are, for instance, I said to you, a job or someone, a partner, and so on. But we have to be precise with the universe. Why? Because if you say, for instance, I want to find a job tomorrow. Tomorrow, you check the announcement, you find job. You didn't be precise enough to say, I want to get a job. It's different. And I want to get a job tomorrow or in 10 years at 200 kilometers or 200 miles from your home and so on. To be precise is extremely important for the universe. The capacity we vibrate and the fact to consider it's already there. You know, if we, by extension, when we talk about fifth dimension, for example, there is different passage, different transition. But I advise people to visualize what they really want. Okay, like real, you know, I depict a book, Sage Passage Utopia, depicting in English the 50. Okay, so like a new civilization and so on with many details. And I invite everybody to do the same, you know, because the goal is to vibrating it by now. And the sun is not waiting. It's like snow falling down from the day to another. It's really to be the change that you want to see in the world, because it's a question of vibration, but it's what I call an operative prayer. You understand? Operative prayer, it means that you launch this message to the universe. Let's do it. We do it.
Yeah.
And
And but even before, back up a little bit, something very important that you said is precision. Because also, you know, there's this class that I teach, the creative formula. The first thing is about you think you want a job, you think you want a relationship, you think, but you don't know how to even articulate your intention. I mean, that's like the first thing. And so what you just said is that, you know, the difference between I want to find a job between versus I want to get a job, you
yeah,
know, it sounds so simple, but so many people get stuck even on this very first step. And
yeah,
so I think it's a great first tool for people to go back to think of something right now that you're trying to create that you're unable to create. And are you actually articulating correctly with precision what it is that you're trying to create? Especially also, you mentioned vibrations. Well, each word has a different vibration. So, for example, and as you are saying these things, for example, I want to find a job feels a little bit like find, it's very vague, it's somewhere out there.
yeah,
But I want to get a job feels creative, like I'm the one in the driver's seat, you know. It, each word has, of course, has a different meaning, but the vibration behind the meaning is what's important, and it's exactly what you just said. So I love this because people, I want you to really, really focus on this very seemingly simple but important point, which is the very first step of creation, and
sure.
then fuel it with this passion. But also you mentioned something very important, the conscious and the subconscious. I say I want to get a job, but my subconscious is saying, I'm not ready. I don't really want to work. I don't even know what job I want. So you are saying something, but feeling something different. So, how do you reconcile the two when people have a subconscious belief
But
system that is in conflict with their conscious mind.
personally, I teach self-hypnosis, the different techniques of auto-conditioning and so on to reprogram yourself and so on. And this is not necessarily, it's not done within one day. Huh? It's a long process and so on. And to avoid to relearn, let's say, to be a bit strict with yourself. It means no up and down. I believe, then the second day, I don't believe anymore and so on. No, you are strict, and also when we say precise, it's the CEO talking to you, when and the life coach also, the notion of defining precisely objectives with a timeline, with backups, with methodology. There is, in the personal development, there is nothing wrong with that. In philosophy, Seneca said there is no favorable wind for the sailor who doesn't know where to go. So what does it mean? It means, okay, imagine you run on a game, soccer, for example, but you ignore what's the rules and what's the goal. It's useless to run and to rush, you see. So, and sometimes you ask to people, what's your dreams, what's your objectives, and so on, to be happy, or even sometimes they even don't know that they want to be happy, which is the basic, normally. But and I say to them, how do you define this concept? How to reach it, and so on? And they don't have any clue about that. So it's normal that we don't achieve our goals if they are not predefined previously. So all this is a question of methodology and how to combine both. Personally, I baptize a methodology that I call TIP, like advice. TIP means theory, intuition, practice at the extreme. TIP theory is, okay, the concept and so on. Practice, down to earth, okay, operational, and intuitive dimension. You learn from the books, for teaching and so on, okay, the concept. And then, for example, you learn how to cook, then you cook by your own, to burn, you adjust and so on. And then you can create, thanks to your intuition, with a certain experience and a certain theory, you can develop your own recipe. So it's a metaphor, of course, but it means, it's combining what I learned from the different two words, let's say West and East. In West is more, let's say, not consciousness, but intellectualization, rationality, thinking, okay? And in East, in Asia especially, is more thinking, feeling, using your five senses, and thereby your six senses, that to say the third eye, the intuition, and so on, to feel your magnetic dimension, that to say your animal part, by the way, and or your superhuman part as well, referring to your previous movie. And what is interesting is one of the key things and advice I can give to people, it's very difficult, but it's to let it go. The real inspiration is like, a sponge. If the sponge is full of thinking and so on, agitation, you don't find anything, because creation, intuition is the fact to download something from outside. Okay, so,
Yeah.
and so what I like to say is, we can say in West is more understand. We try to understand, and in East they try, in quote mark, to understand. You understand? Understand is a new word I created. Yeah, inside. You understand through, inwardly.
Inner work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna, I'd like to do things very experientially. So for those who are tuning in and for those who will be listening later, take a minute right now, to just breathe a little bit, just relax and focus on your heart and see if you can articulate correctly what it is that you are wanting to create, and see if you stumble or if it just comes out. I want to create a a job or a career that is aligned with who I am. I want to create a relationship that is aligned with who I am. I want to create abundance that is aligned with who I am. As you are saying whatever it is that you are creating, whatever feelings are coming out are the feelings that need to be let go of. For example, doubt, fear, confusion, all of that. And so I love all of these tips. And then, especially what you mentioned at the end, letting go is the surrender. Because part of asking, and it's like, is it gonna happen? Is it gonna happen? Then that energy is the energy of expectation and need. And so that's what I'm saying. That's what Aurélien is mentioning, the connection between the two, the Western and the Eastern, the feeling of what you are saying or what you are wanting, the physical, the outer and the inner, balanced together. And so I love this conversation. So, Aurélien, because so many people, I get so many people, even those who have done a lot of spiritual work, who get stuck. I still cannot create this, or health. I keep repeating the same. So I love this very going back to the basic. Going back to the inner, who you are, to create anything you want. What do you think right now with this crazy world that we're living in? What is particularly challenging today?
As for me, the most difficult thing is the world is becoming multi-dimensional more and more and changing extremely rapidly. The divine paradox and the human paradox are more and more prevalent. What does it mean? It means that it is really difficult for our education, dualists, binary, good, bad, hot, cold, and so on. This is almost finished. The notion of Taoism, the yin and the yang, there is, do you know perfection? Do you know some people who are perfect? I never met personally. And if so, we know the history of certain prophets. Apparently, it was not so positive for them. So what does it mean? It means that even our friends, our partner, ourselves, we are changing all the times. This is also the identification of the ego. The persona are the mask, okay, that we are holding since our childhood. We have been shaped through our education, our culture, our many things. And we consider this is ourself, but it's not our true self. It's not the true I am. It's the different mask of the piece of theater we are playing, you see? So the disidentification is the first step to understand, to unveil, to take out the veils, to lift the veils. And this is what we call apocalypse, by the way, to lift the Maya for Hindus. This is the same concept. And so the very important thing is to think out of the box, to think in the sense that there is, I like to say the absolute truth is the sum of the subjective realities or truth. What does it mean? Rubik's Cube. I show you the Rubik's Cube. You're going to tell me, I'm going to ask you what's the color. You're going to say it's red. I'm going to tell you, no, come on, it's blue, and so on. What's the color? It's 6 colors, except that life is probably 7.8 billion colors. Okay, so everybody take a small piece and think it's considering the whole truth. But the problem is that it's not so binary nowadays. Some people are partially right, some people are partially wrong, and we need to combine with that. There is not a camp of evil and a camp of goodness. We have to combine, and within everybody, nowadays we can consider the spirituality, consider that God is not necessarily with a big beer in the clouds, but within. We need also to accept the potential part of darkness as well. And embracing our dark part and dark sides allows not to glorify it or them, but to neutralize in a certain extent. Why do I precise that? Because we are in a special period of time. We have to be peaceful. What does it mean? It means not to have any bad energy toward the world, but the world is within us. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean within a drop. This is from Rumi, the great Sufi, who live there nearby. Well, what does it mean? It means that we are the universe. We are not experiencing the universe. The universe is experiencing ourselves. Okay, so that's we are inviting. The big risk of this period is to try to find scapegoats. Scapegoats is just outsourcing the responsibilities. We don't have the power. Is the fault of my I don't know, my partner, my neighbor, the government, and so on and so forth. So it's never my responsibility. What do we send to the universe? That we don't have any power, we don't have any abilities. Okay, so even the fact just to accept and to go deep inside, to dig down, to embrace literally our dark sides, it's already allowing us to send and to be peaceful with the world, and to clean up also, because we need a work of cleansing, inner cleansing with the within this life, from the karma and so on, from the lineage. It's kind of big work, but and it's not so pleasant, but it's a part of the game.
Yeah, so what you're saying is that, if I'm hearing you correctly, so now, because the question was how, what is different? What is the biggest challenge in today's world? So you're saying that it's changing from this duality, just
Yeah.
very clear cut, good, bad, good, evil, dark, light, or whatever, to, if I'm hearing you correctly, more of a gray area. So there's a little bit of everything everywhere, is, if I'm hearing you correctly. And so whatever's outside is inside. So instead of kind of saying it's not there, it's more to neutralize and to accept that aspect of our being, and to neutralize it as opposed to fight it or pretend that it's not there. So can you give a specific example? Again, for people who are trying to create, let's talk about work again, especially that you are so successful in this field. In today's world,
Yeah.
okay, especially after post-COVID, this whole crazy whatever, and some of the recent laws, I don't know if it's in France, is very different from what we're living here in the US, but so in today's world, if I have been frustrated with my career, let's say, I'm not, but as an example, because many people have this issue. Let's just take one example. I'm frustrated with my career or my next expression. What is the best way to figure out? We mentioned the vibration. We mentioned all of this. We mentioned the tools. But is there something specific that works better today with today's world conditions that is different than before? What is happening in today's world when I want to create a new career, let's say?
But
And
let's
I'm
say there
talking
is,
in
yeah,
alignment with who I am, a higher
yeah.
purpose.
I would say there is systematically a double phase for everything, luminous and the dark part. So even what's happened 2 years ago, actually, it was a great occasion to wait and see, to observe, just to stop running like crazy, and just to consider if it was making sense, life, our own life, our career, our job, our friends, our partner, and so on, just to observe. So this is one of the positive points. The negative point is some people just realize with real eyes the real lies. So the danger is to become really upset and to hate everybody. And you reduce, you lower your vibration, and thereby you have more chance to fail things, to reach disease, and so on and so forth. So this is one of the danger. When there is a problem, an obstacle is also always a springboard. Okay. When you say I'm successful and so on, I'm successful because first, my expectations are not so high. First point. Secondly, because I don't necessarily talk about my failure. I'm always saying to have 100% of result, you need to provide 300%, and this is true for everything. For I've been national champion of France gymnastics. Is not you do it like this. You know better than me that you need to be invest deeply in all what you do. So the first thing is also very important. I'm always reminding people that the fact to know how to walk, you need to fall down 2,000 times. And I
Oh,
don't know any kids
that's a
saying,
lot of
"Oh,
times.
yeah, imagine, Daddy, finally, I
Who
don't want
said
to, I don't, yeah,
that?
I give up and so on." It doesn't exist. So it's a part of the game, okay? Those who are serial entrepreneurs, they necessarily had a lot of failures. It's like for love and so on. I would never say to a kid, don't go because you will. Everybody had or will have a pain of hurt, right? So
What
it's a
is
part of the
different
game.
today? What is different? Do you fall less right now? Is there something in the global energies that allow you
I
to create faster, better?
Yes, I think everything goes faster, and for a simple reason. There is a lot of data. We are 7.8. We're going to be 8 billions at the end of this year. What does it mean? More production of energies, emotions, and so on. So is pushing much more space time. And I'm pretty sure everybody feel that it goes faster. And I even think further, this is my intuition since I kid, I believe in the multiverse. I believe in a multi-world. I do exist. Everybody exists in parallel worlds, apparently. And this is Einstein who said, match the frequencies of the reality that you want, and you cannot stop getting it. It's not science, it's not philosophy, it is science. So match the frequency of the reality you want and you cannot stop getting it. What does it mean? According to our state of mind, according to our mindset, maybe every single morning when we wake up, because we have reset our mind and our positive dimension, maybe we shift every single morning and even maybe every single second. And this
Right.
is something completely possible. So the most important thing is the hygiene of the mindset and to be positive. It doesn't mean Teletubby, like naive. Is not this. It's the fact also to accept. Acceptance is accepting your dark side, means also to say sometimes, honestly, sometimes I say to you, I believe in the divine blueprint, but sometimes I say to myself, it's going to be hard, or sorry to be vulgar, but sometimes I'm upset. I have enough. I say, no, mankind and so on, it's a disaster. And then when I see the words and so on, sometimes let's say, I'm pissed off. Basically, I'm human. Like, no, it's
It's
normal.
okay to be
I think
pissed
it's
off at the world. I'm pissed off at the world every now and then for sure. If you guys have a question for Aurélien, you can write it, you can type it in as you are listening, because if you have questions, we'll do that real quick before we're gonna let him go. So make sure you write down your question from now. So if I heard you correctly, and I agree with that, I feel what is different right now is a different timeline. I feel like you
right.
mentioned becoming 8 billion people. Yes, and so because as people create, that the thought form becomes integrated in the
Right.
space-time fabric. So that's what you mentioned. You mentioned that the space-time fabric starts to expand, and if many people are creating, it kind of becomes more, things go faster because more people are saying, I want success now, I want a job now, I want a relationship now, or what have you. And so I agree with that. I feel that, on a global level, the difference is when you say, I want something, the momentum is a lot faster because you have behind you, so to speak, more than that, but more people saying the same thing. So the idea um, is to be accurate and precise and say exactly what you want so that you have the pull, the push, so to speak, of the collective moving you in that direction much faster. So I agree with all of this. But then you also mentioned again accepting, that you're pissed off that sometimes that things don't work out, or it takes longer or something. But isn't that a contradiction to what you're trying to create?
No,
Because
you know,
if you're pissed off, you're like, wait a minute, my spirit guides aren't responding, or
no,
this, that, so that anger, it holds you back from what you said you want and what you believe it's supposed to happen.
it can be punctual in the sense that sometimes we're tired and so on. So it's not, it's like in a couple. I don't know anybody who don't fight or argue sometimes is a part of the game, is normal. There is a difference in between in the spectrum. The largest one would be, oh, if God wants, okay, and I stay in my bed and I don't apply for any job, I don't do any training, or same for partner. And the other extreme is, empowering, coaching of life. I want, I will get, and so on and so forth. Okay. In between, I tried everything. My intention, I did everything, and then I let it go. I give this to the universe, matching with the currents of energy and so on, and it will happen when it has to be there. You understand? Because sometimes it's the principle that nature has the rhythm. Okay, you can plant a seed. You don't go every single morning saying "come on" or shouting on it. This is a little bit our materialistic
You
dimension.
don't shout on the plant. That's funny.
So there is also a nature thing. As long as you tried everything, this is one of the four wisdom from Toltec agreements. The four, the most important is intention. Intention. I did everything I could. Then it's not in my hand anymore. And this is
So,
true for everything.
so I like what you said, the one thing you said is that when you have this anger, it's punctual. I
Yeah,
like that. This means that in that moment, I'm feeling this anger and frustration that that whatever I asked for isn't happening. So I allow myself to feel this anger, but I like that you said it's punctual, meaning it's only in this space of time. It doesn't affect my true
exactly.
essence and what I really have asked for. And so I think this is a great pointer, you guys, to think about this because, and to intend it for it to be that, to say, I'm not going to pretend I'm not angry because I am angry. But I'm making this anger a punctual anger, meaning to not affect or have a long term effect or any sort of effect on what I am creating. So the vibration is an expression, a temporary expression, and it just flows into the unified field. So I like that. Okay, let's see if there are any questions here. I'd like to hear some of his personal experiences. That would be interesting. Also, recently I totally let go and sat in stillness for a long time. Out of the blue, I got an opportunity I was dreaming of. I agree with Aurélien. Yeah, so the letting go, the surrender is exactly what needs to happen. And the moment where you think, whatever happens, happens. If it doesn't happen, I'm fine. I'll somehow it'll happen. I'll be fine. However it manifests. The minute you say that, but you truly believe it and you truly feel it, the opportunity comes. So somebody's asking, can you share some of your personal experience? I know you told us how you got to where you are, But did you have, for example, a struggle, something that you've been wanting to create for so long and it wasn't happening, it wasn't happening, it wasn't happening? And then how did you deal with that? And how did it finally happen? Like, how did it resolve? Can you
But
share a personal story?
I can give you something really interesting in my life. I've been fired from my company when I was 30 years old after just 4 days before my birthday, and kicked
Wow.
out by, and kicked out at the same time by my girlfriend. Anyway, so everything collapsed and so on, and
Isn't that typical that usually everything, I mean,
it's
when you're ready for a serious reset, everything collapses at the same time and we think it's the
probably.
end of the world, but it's probably what needs to
And it
happen.
was an excellent opportunity because I had nothing to lose. So I said to myself, okay, let's go to China. You want to go for a long time and so on. And I swear to you, it's true. I reached my objectives and so on. It was really for personal reasons. Okay. And this boss who fired me, I pray for 2 years for her to be to change and so on, because I know she was suffering and so on. She had the burnouts and she became spiritual, and now it's our best clients. So in a
Oh,
certain extent, without that, it was, going forward, stepward to jump further. So, and I have many things like this, experience like this. As long as you take it, okay, fair enough. Okay, I was really disappointed. I was okay, normal for the first days, but then I say, okay, what the universe really wants to show me, and it was a great opportunity.
so
Great opportunity
wait.
to bounce
So
back.
you get fired 4 days before your birthday and your
Yeah,
girlfriend leaves like
yeah,
literally in the same week. And
yeah. Same period.
oh,
Yeah,
whatever, yeah.
yeah,
And then, and you're 30 years old. So this is kind of a turning point in your life.
yeah.
And you
Exactly.
just, but and for a few days you feel bad and then you snap out of it. That's it.
Yeah, and then I say, okay. I mean, I said to
You know what I
myself,
mean? What are all the struggles that
but,
you may have gone through before you said, you know what? Maybe this is an opportunity. I'm just going to go to China. I mean,
but
how did you
you know,
transition? Because that's where people get stuck.
But I already had the same experience few months ago. I arrived here in Turkey. I wanted to see my baby. After 3 weeks, I was in a business trip in France, and I'd been kicked out from authority for 4 months. So you have two opportunities. Either you cry and you hate the whole entire world, or you say it's an opportunity. And I spent 4 months with my parents. They are not eternal. I didn't see them for 10 years. And I say, okay, what do you want me to understand, God? And I just I accepted. You understand? Same, we are blocked here for more than 1 year here, and probably for one more year. And we say to ourselves, there is an amazing opportunities. We're gonna do retreats here in Turkey. We are building eco village and so on and so forth. So you have two options in life. Either you accept things and let's say you say, okay, there is probably a good reason that I cannot see now, and or you just fight against yourself. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Okay, big, word to remember today. What is the opportunity? Write it in big letters, you guys. Write it on your computer, write it, put sticker notes all over your house in big letters. Opportunity. When you are considering the mess, the problems that you're in, the girlfriend leaves, the job is not working, the money is getting scarce, all the things that seem scary. See if you can just look at the words opportunity and shift from fear, from confusion, to the vibration of what is the opportunity in this, as opposed to why is this happening to me? How do I get out of it? This is too much for me to handle. These are the natural emotions that come up. But see if you can, it's okay to have those emotions. Let's have those emotions. Oh my God, this is the end of the world, blah, blah, blah. This is too much for me. But then go to the sticker notes all over your house and remember there's got to be an opportunity. What is the opportunity? What is the opportunity? And maybe the first opportunity, the simplest opportunity, is for you to get over the fear. That's the first step. The fear of being alone because the girlfriend left, the fear of, not having money because you lost your job, the fear of not knowing what direction, what career you're supposed to have. Perhaps that is the first opportunity that you are being given. I love this because you are right away shifting vibration from fear and darkness and confusion to an opening. It's an adventure. I don't know what the opportunity is, but there's got to be an opportunity. Also, another thing, that's why people like to hear your personal stories, because you can go back. You just said something. It happened to you before, so you learn from it. Go back to when you had something maybe similar, Perhaps maybe it's not exactly the same thing. Not every time the boss is going to fire you and every time the girlfriend's going to, but I mean, something similar, and you made it fine. You came out of it fine. Only this time you're going to do better. You're going to do better. And I love this. Okay, let's see if there's any more questions. Aurélien is fantastic. Is the timing important in regards also to the collective vibration for something to get manifested? The timing. So for example, if you're asking, I don't know exactly what she means. Let me see. Isn't this process you're discussing with imagining with intent the same process you followed to help the craft appear for the scientist in your film, The Tear in the Sky? Yeah, it's a little bit like that. It's choosing the opportunity instead of choosing the fear, the same as choosing the new paradigm and the new earth versus the old. Yeah, it's a little bit like that. But tell us what is your take on the timing? Is there something that has to do with the collective consciousness that holds you back because there's a better timing to ask for certain things? What do you think about that?
I definitely think, and I feel that since I'm almost kid, the fact that we are in a, let's say, crucial period of time, because we need to, to accumulate all the knowledge of humanity, and we are here to transmute these energies as a single man. Okay, it means that we are belonging to everything. So the triptych, executioner, savior, and the victim. It's over this. We can keep all the bad things from, but what I'm trying to say now is there is a timeline, definitely. I just give you a simple example. I'm convinced that free energy was not permitted so far because we are not mature enough as mankind. I mean, we were not before. So it's like abundance. Abundance is not doing I don't know a ski station in a Middle East. Is not it's not having air conditioning or internet everywhere in the deserts and so on. This is maturity as well. Awakening is that also. Is the notion of maturity. If I ask to my kid of 4 years old what you want to eat every night, he will tell me some candies, some chips, you know what I mean? It will be not a vegetable, it will not be fruits and so on. So I think definitely we are here for good reason, and this is a period of time. We could, I really try, I love history, and I really try to understand the psychoanalysis of the history and the different countries. You understand? Because we also need to do this. We need to understand the psychoanalysis of states, of Canada, of the native inhabitants, and so on. This is crucial, and we are all invited not to fight, but to be peaceful with all these aspects. So, to come back to this point, yes, there is a timeline. Definitely a timeline. It's extremely important.
Yeah, it's interesting. I agree with the timeline of the collective. So I'm glad somebody brought this up. And it feels that this new timeline is where humanity becomes more, has the opportunity, speaking of opportunity, has the potential and the opportunity to really become evolved. If we were, you mentioned and free energy, if we were to introduce that technology, 20 years ago or during the Cold
Mm.
War or whatever, it just wouldn't have worked. And so that is definitely where we're headed. So this is fantastic. So you guys, if you can take anything, at least, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that came up during this conversation, but if you can take anything at all, is that this is a new timing in the collective evolution, and to go back to the basic of creating from the heart, with the positive vibration, and to quickly turn the fears into an opportunity. And so I think this has been very helpful to go back to these important reminders. So Aurélien, I want to thank you so much for
My
coming. And I
pleasure.
love, like, because it's important to hear different perspective from people from different countries. You bring that energy with you. It brings that frequency also. It's very refreshing. So I appreciate your time. And
My pleasure.
yes, tell
Thank you
us,
to you.
you can give us your website, but we are going
Yeah.
to put everything in the description so you guys can go back. He's got the information in English, books, all sorts of material, all in English that you can download. He's got a lot of free stuff. So, but tell us one more time
Yeah.
where
Also,
people can reach you.
yeah, I have also my YouTube channel in English and in French, but in English every week I do on a theme and so on. So I try also to give a maximum of tools, techniques, and so on, because once again, spirituality is not in the library; is operational. I mean, in daily life, and this is extremely important. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you took something very important from this conversation today. These are amazing reminder. Thanks again, Aurélien. Thanks,
My
everybody.
pleasure.
And I hope to see you next time. Let's do it again real soon. Take care. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Bye.
Bye bye.